A brand new Sonic game was recently revealed titled Sonic Dream Team. The game looks absolutely gorgeous from what we've seen, along with amazing 2D animation and banger music, judging off the song in the trailer. But there's one big issue with the game: the Apple Arcade exclusivity. While I'm not going to deny the fact that the exclusivity kinda sucks, here's why I think it's not that big of a deal. Like I said before, this title is, as of this moment, only on Apple Arcade. If you don't know, Apple Arcade is a subscription service that includes hundreds of high-quality mobile games for a small fee per month. It's similar to something like Game Pass or PlayStation Extra, but with games exclusive to the service. Sega is no stranger to Apple Arcade, as they currently have 5 games on the service. The reason why so people are angry about this is because Apple Arcade is, obviously, only for Apple devices, which are viewed as more expensive products in comparison to their Android and Windows counterparts. But I'm gonna be honest here, the Apple Arcade exclusivity is perfectly fine. For one, this game can run on a wide variety of devices, including iPhone, iPad, Mac, and Apple TV. All of these devices will be getting Sonic Dream Team, and while we don't know the specifics on which devices will and won't be supported, we do know that any device running iOS 13, tvOS 13, or macOS 11 can play the game. These requirements are, of course, subject to change, but if this does end up being true, that would mean the iPhone 6S from 2015 can play the game, a device which can be had on eBay for less than $40. And for the people who are about to write their comments saying that I'm broke shaming here, I understand that money is tight in 2023, so it genuinely does suck that the game isn't on Android and other console platforms. But from what we've been told so far, this game may not even exist without Apple. According to Sonic Stadium on Twitter, this game not only got funding from Apple, but it was partially produced by Apple. We won't get specifics anytime soon, but seeing as Apple pays for big names to come to Apple Arcade, this isn't surprising to me. But looping back around to the point of the video, the reason why I don't really see this as a big deal is because there are potentially billions of devices that can support this title. As of 2023, over 2 billion iPhones have been sold, 588 million iPads, and over 200 million Macs. With almost 3 billion Apple devices out in the wild, all these people complaining on Twitter don't have one. Even if you think you don't, check your drawers, you might have a device capable of playing the game just sitting there. And even if you don't, ask your family if they have any devices sitting around that they'd give to you. This game isn't nearly as unattainable as Twitter would like to make it out to be. Now, if you're in a third world country or someplace where Apple products are jacked up in price, then yeah, this does suck a bit more, and I do have sympathy for you. But most countries with limited funds for Apple products have thriving used markets, especially in places like Brazil, Hong Kong, and Mexico. Hell, in China, they literally have whole shopping malls full of used electronics where you can literally buy all the individual parts to build an iPhone. This isn't even mentioning the amount of Apple Arcade subscribers, which is reported to be around 100 million. To put into context, that's more than PlayStation Plus and Xbox Game Pass combined. If y'all would still consider Dream Team unattainable after that, I have no words for you. I've seen a lot of outrage on this game on Twitter and YouTube regarding the exclusivity, and I wanted to look at some tweets along with the video and explain why their hate is misplaced. Okay, so this first tweet says, if you hate your fans, just say it. And I'm gonna be honest, this is definitely better for fans, at least in my opinion, because if this game were free, this game would be absolutely loaded with microtransactions, in which case the game would probably not be fun, and it would probably die after like a year and a half, just like with Sonic Runners. So it being an Apple Arcade exclusive, you know, actually having some kind of backbone to allow it to actually be a real game and not be, you know, mobile trash, I think is honestly a good thing. Alright, so this next one says, this game looks so good, we will be playing when it gets a port to PC. Heh. Like, it looks good, but not, I need to buy an $800 phone to play this game good. And actually, a fun fact Friday, you don't. You can buy a $40 iPhone 6S off eBay, and as far as we can tell right now, it will play the game. The perceived notion that you need to buy a $1,000 iPhone to play the game is just really annoying when you don't. But like, obviously me as a tech guy, I obviously know that you can buy Apple products that aren't $1,000 and still do things with them. But the more like casual market doesn't really know that. They just see Apple and they think expensive, which is really annoying. But yeah, you don't need to spend a lot of money to play this game. And this one's just funny because the guy says he's not going to buy Apple Arcade for this, but like, you don't have to buy Apple Arcade. You got a month trial for free. And with a lot of devices that you buy like out in the ether, like, a lot of products come with free trials. Like, if you buy a cheap iPhone, you usually get like a 3-4 month trial. if you have a Target account and if you have Target Circle, which is free, you get a free 3-month trial. Like, guys, come on, this is not that difficult. I don't get this whole notion that you need to spend a lot of money. You don't. You can literally get a month for free by default, and if you're savvy, you can get like 3-4 months for free with certain memberships, like with Target Circle or with Best Buy Plus or Best Buy Total. Those give you trials as well. Like, come on now. This is not that expensive. And I have no words for this one. This one is just straight up funny. I literally have nothing to say. Alright, and this last thing I'm reacting to is a video by Smash JT. He basically just says that the exclusivity is bad for the game, and then I just kind of say why it's not.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Smash JT. Turns out that it's a mobile exclusive game that is created specifically for Apple Arcade. Why? Like, why are we doing this, Sega?
The reason why they're doing this is because, Apple paid for it. You'd know that if you did a research.
I want to talk a little bit more about why Sega is doing this kind of stuff and how it's not good for the longevity of the brand of Sonic the Hedgehog. A brand that, let's be honest, has seen its peaks and valleys.
I don't see how this is bad for the brand, because if Apple is paying to make this game an Apple Arcade exclusive and they're actually paying for the development of the game, Sega is not spending a lot of money on this game, presumably, so they're essentially getting a free game out of Sega, or out of Apple. Now obviously it's only going to be on Apple devices, but on average, Apple owners usually spend more money than people on Android or on other mobile platforms, so like, it's still a good way to get exposure for the brand. It's still a good way to get some decent money. I don't see how this is really bad for the brand image per se. That's a bit silly.
But let's be honest, when a powerhouse character like Sonic, and he still does hold a lot of weight in the realm of gaming, is restricted to a platform largely used for casual gaming, it's a disservice to both the character and its fans. Many Sonic enthusiasts are clamoring.
I would highly disagree on that, actually. It's more of a benefit than anything, because not only is it on a platform that has millions upon millions of users, but Apple Arcade has over 100 million users. Not sure if that's like active or anything, but 100 million paying users, presumably. So that is a lot of people who could play this game on one of the biggest platforms on the planet. I don't really see how that's a disservice to Sonic. A disservice to fans who don't have iPhones or Apple devices, I guess, but like, come on now.
The graphic capability of that is almost on par with the Nintendo Switch from, 6-7 years ago?
But the iPhone and even Android to a lesser extent, like Snapdragon and stuff, we've been past the Nintendo Switch. The Nintendo Switch is very deprecated. It's been very deprecated. The reason why Switch games that are on Switch don't appear on mobile is just because Switch is an actual gaming device and an iPhone or your Samsung isn't. So that's why certain games still haven't come to mobile yet.
And watching the trailer, it shows how much wasted potential this could be. The roster specifically. Sonic Dream Team boasts an impressive lineup of playable characters. Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, Rogue, and Cream, each character bringing unique...
Who's Rogue? Who's Rogue? Who is that?
There could have been multiplayer co-op missions, enhanced graphics, more intricate level designs, but no, a phone. And we can all presume what comes along with the phone, microtransactions. Now,
no. Literally no. Apple Arcade exists explicitly to not have microtransactions. That's why it's a paid service.
The game revolves around an artifact called the Reverie, capable of manifesting dreams into reality. And while the premise does hold a great deal of narrative promise, can a mobile platform truly do justice to such an ambitious story?
Why wouldn't it? That doesn't seem that complicated. I mean, we've seen with something like Sonic Mania, where the Phantom Ruby is literally distorting the world around Sonic, yet it does it just fine, because in reality it's not that complicated. I don't really see how mobile can't facilitate this. I mean, if they design it like a phone game, that may be an issue, but because this is Apple Arcade, there's no microtransactions, there's no need to be greedy about it. It's probably just going to be relatively console-like in its design, minus things like controls or maybe the drop in, drop out kind of gameplay where you don't have to, go to checkpoints to save or whatever. Yeah, I don't think that's an issue.
Sega has cut off a significant portion of their fan base who are Android users or those who primarily game on consoles or PCs. And even
I mean, yeah, it does suck. I get that. But at the same time, the iPhone 6s on eBay is like $40. So that's all I'm going to say here. And you can use that for more than just this game.
Apple owners who refuse to participate in Apple Arcade, like myself. So
Okay, dude, come on. Apple, like, gives you trials all the time. Like, in my settings menu, they're constantly begging me to sign up for things. Because they're just giving me free trials. What do you mean you have an Apple device and you're not gonna try it out? You can get trials. Why is this... Why?
how much did Apple pay Sega to make this game exclusive? Because it had to be a lot of money. And if that's the case, I guess we know that's where Sega and Sonic and their loyalties lie. Where
What? I mean, Sega is a for-profit business. This should not be a revelation that they like deals and like money. They are a for-profit business. Do I need to repeat that for you?
could you imagine if Nintendo stopped making consoles and started making mobile exclusive Mario games? I mean, yeah, I get it. Mario Run, I get it. Ha ha ha. But like putting full force, like making a full-on Mario 3D platformer game on a Apple Arcade. I mean, really? That's what Sonic has sunk to. It's pathetic. It's embarrassing. And I expect better out of Sega.
Funny pause frame here, but I don't really see how this is embarrassing per se. I mean, I see how it's annoying for people who don't have Apple, but embarrassing? That's really pushing it.
And that's the end of my rant.
Before I end off this video, I want to give you a quick buying guide on the best and cheapest ways to play Dream Team. If you want the absolute cheapest device you could purchase to play the game, that would be, like I said before, the iPhone 6s. At around $40 on eBay, this game, as far as the App Store is telling us right now, will be able to run on the 6s. I tested out Samba de Amigo on the 6s, and it does work. Not terribly well, but it does work. This definitely will not be an ideal experience, but if that's all you got, that's all you got. If you want a better phone that won't cost significantly more, you should look at an iPhone 8 or an iPhone SE second generation. An iPhone 8 will run around the $70 mark if you look hard enough, and an SE second generation is around $100. The best device to run this game that won't destroy your bank account is an Apple TV. While it's not a portable device, at around $130, it's great if you want a more console-like experience. It's got the processor from the iPhone 13, meaning it can handle basically every game on Apple Arcade with ease. I would personally buy the model with more storage and the Ethernet port, but that doesn't really matter too much in the grand scheme of things. Obviously, you can get things like an iPad Pro M2 that'll crush any device that I mentioned, but of course that's going to be 10 times more expensive. And if all you want to play is Sonic Dream Team, any of the devices I mentioned above should be just fine. But I believe that wraps up my time here. If you got any questions, leave them in the comments below. I want to thank Azu Crystal for her $2 Patreon pledge, which the link for that will be in the description. I've got a Discord where we hang out and just talk about games, and I've also got my YouTube memberships open if you'd like to support me that way. And with that, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.